Welcome to Smart Girl Philippines. I'm Irish and the topic of today's Shark Talk is foreigners I wouldn't sleep with. Who gets it and who doesn't in the Philippines? Now guys, I'm not a total slut, but I have dated a lot of foreigners because hey, I like foreigners and I used to work as a waitress in a tourist hotspot, so I got to know a lot of guys. Guilty. The purpose of my channel is to help guys find love and be smart, and so I thought it might be helpful to actually share with you the nitty-gritty of what types of foreigners I wouldn't sleep with and which ones actually got lucky. And you probably figured this out about women over the years. Who they say they want to date is usually different than who they actually end up dating. So in this episode, I'm not talking about my personal preferences. I'm actually talking about my personal actions. I'm not talking about what I say I want. Instead, I'm talking about what I actually got. Because it's one thing for someone to say they prefer to eat chicken and broccoli, but it's something totally different to see what they actually put in their shopping cart. So, I want to begin by telling you about 9 types of foreigners that I never slept with, and then I'll end with the 9 types of foreigners who actually did get lucky. Before I continue, I wrote a book called Irish's Black Book of Game to explain what I learned about how to have game when it comes to attracting women based on all my experiences as a waitress. I'm super excited about it. I'll be releasing it on Amazon later this year, but I'll give it to you for free. Just click the link in the description below to get on the waiting list for a free digital copy when it's released. So, let's get started. I never slept with a foreigner younger than 30. If a guy show up here in his 20s, it was a turn-off for me. I don't exactly know why, but I think it was because younger guys are usually just here to play around. They're usually not serious and they're usually not real men. Next, I never slept with a foreigner older than 59. So I guess my actions show that 40s and 50s were my sweet spot. I like these guys because they know how to go with the flow. They know their limitations. They're not just playing around, and they know how to handle life. Next, I never slept with a guy who lived in the Philippines for longer than a year. If a guy was in town for a few days, weeks, or months, it didn't matter. But if a guy had actually lived here for a few years, I was immediately uninterested. That's because the majority of guys who live here for a long time already have Filipino wives or serious girlfriends. No matter what a guy says, every Filipino knows that if a guy lives here, it usually means that he already has a family. Next, I never slept with a guy who asked too many questions. If I was getting to know a guy and he was Mr. Inquisitive, I immediately lost interest. I think because it just felt weird to me. A couple of questions are okay, but playing 20 questions with me always killed the vibe, especially questions out of nowhere that had nothing to do with our conversation. Like you just order a cheeseburger and we're talking about the weather and your next question, are you married? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you have kids? Where's your parents? Guys, it's weird, okay? Slow down. You haven't even eaten your cheeseburger yet. Eat first, questions later. Next, I never slept with a know-it-all or a guy who talked too much. There were always guys who would show up here and act like they knew more about the Philippines than me. Hello, you're a foreigner, I'm a Filipina. I probably know more about the Philippines than you do. So you don't need to try to prove anything to me. Also, I never slept with a guy who wouldn't stop talking. Even if you're Brad Pitt, if you don't know when to shut up, I'm not sleeping with you. Well, maybe if it really was Brad Pitt. Next, I never slept with a regular customer. If someone was a customer, that was okay. But if they were a regular customer who came every single day or several times a week, they got put in the customer zone. And once you're in the customer zone with the waitress, that means no dessert for you. Next, I never slept with a clingy guy. So here's the deal. If a foreigner is a clingy guy, it's a huge clue that he has a lot of Filipinas. Because if he's clingy and flirty with me, then he's clingy and flirty with other Filipino. So it's a hard pass and it's a really quick way for a guy to end up in the no-go zone. Next, I never slept with a married guy. Now, some Filipinas might not have a problem playing that game with you, but for me, it never happened. If I thought a guy was married or had a girlfriend, he was off limits for me. And here's why. It's dangerous, and I don't want to die. Next, I never slept with a guy who didn't trust me. If a guy was immediately giving me vibes like he thought I had lots of boyfriends or was trying to control me, then I lost interest. I'm not married, so I'm free to do what I want. Because you had one dinner with me doesn't mean you get to tie me up and put me in jail. But if you have some handcuffs, that might be fun. Next, I never slept with a guy who tried to pay me. I've had a lot of offers over the years, but I've never done it. Anytime a guy would do anything to make me feel like a prostitute, I would run the other way. If a waitress wanted to work at the bar, she would. So it's weird if a guy tries to date a waitress and his first move is to treat her like a bar girl. It might work with other Filipinas, but it never worked on me. So, time to switch gears now. Let's talk about who got lucky. Guy number 1 was a tourist. There's something attractive to a Filipina about a guy who is in the Philippines for the first time. There's something about being the first for someone that is exciting. Guy number 2 was the fun guy. This was the guy who showed up and said, let's eat Korean barbecue and let's go bowling at the mall and then let's go do karaoke. Life is hard in the Philippines, so when a guy is willing to show you some fun, it means a lot. Guy number 3 was a professional football player. No comment. Guy number 4 was the quiet guy. This guy was the opposite of the know-it-all and the guy who talked too much. This guy was just quiet. There was something attractive about it because I felt like he was strong and trustworthy. Here in the Philippines, it seems like everybody's trying to expose you or gossip about you to everybody. Being with a quiet guy felt safe to me. Guy number 5 was the chubby, handsome guy. Look, I'm just telling you what I think. The chubby guy wasn't going to get chased by every Filipina in town, so that was attractive to me because I wanted someone who would be loyal to. He was also incredibly handsome, so it made for a perfect combination. Plus, chubby guys are bouncy. Guy number 6 was the funny guy. This guy was great, really tall and really funny. He lit up the room when he walked in and just had this crazy ability to make everybody laugh without being too corny or cheesy. He had a great personality and he was also really respectful. He was divorced, so he knew about how relationships work and he always went out of his way to make me feel special and never put me down or made me feel bad about myself or place in life. Guy number 7 was the party guy. This guy was the life of the party. He said, "Do you want to go bar hopping?" And I said, "I think so." And within a few hours, I was having the time of my life naked in a swimming pool. Just kidding, I wasn't in a swimming pool. Guy number 8 was the good listener. Everybody has their own stuff going on and is busy. But this guy actually took time to get to know me and to listen to what I had to say. He was one of the only guys I've ever met who I think actually heard what I had to say and seemed to genuinely care about how I felt. Filipinos have a lot of insecurities and a lot of challenges. Life isn't exactly easy here, and there's a lot of things we have to figure out in our heads for how we're going to survive. So having someone to talk to about life was really special. Guy number 9 was the giver. So this guy used money, but in a different way. He wasn't offering me money to sleep with him, but he was paying attention to me. I said I was craving steak, and he would take me out for a steak dinner. He saw that my purse was broken, so he bought me a new purse. He saw my nails looked pitiful, and he took me to a salon. Yeah, sure, you could call this a gold digging, but no guy ever bought me an iPhone or took me to Boracay. And I never received more than $100 in support from a guy I was dating. It was just a little stuff and guys being thoughtful. So, if you think that's being a gold digger, then I'm guilty. But hold the fuck up. If I'm a gold digger for getting a $30 purse, then what do you call the girl on OnlyFans making $1 million? So cut me some slack here. I don't have a credit card. There's no loans I can take out. And I used to make $1 an hour. And now, thanks to YouTube, I make $2 an hour. So, if a guy shows up in the Philippines and he isn't trying to use his money to directly sleep with or control a Filipina, but instead he uses his money to show care for a Filipina, that's going to make all the difference in the world. And that is who Filipinas are going to want to be with. A guy who uses his money to be thoughtful as opposed to a guy who uses his money to buy love is a big difference. Let me conclude by saying that you might be wondering this by now. If all those guys were so amazing, what happened? Where did they go? Why aren't you dating them? And that's a great question with an even greater answer. And I'm going to explain it in an upcoming video. Because it's actually a very interesting answer. And it's actually going to show you how you can end up with an amazing Filipina. All you have to do is one simple thing. And so far, no guy has been able to do it. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sending it to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the thanks button and tip me in proportion to the value that you feel you've derived from this message, because it's support from people like you that make all this happen. I couldn't do it without you, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you.